Hey everybody, this is a biggie. My name is Scott Nance, and I'm very, very excited, extremely honored to moderate this conversation with the cast of not just one of the very best seasons in Star Trek's 57-year history, but one of the best seasons of television, period. And I'm sure you will all agree with that assessment. So it's my pleasure, yes, to introduce the cast to make sure that history will never forget the name Star Trek Picard. Please welcome actors Michelle Hurd. Please welcome Jeri Ryan. Please welcome McFadden. Please welcome Jonathan Frakes. And ladies and gentlemen, all rise. Give it up for Sir Patrick Stewart. He's been through worse.
That was all acting, by the way. You never know what a director is looking for, and I know there are some of you here. I do unsteadiness very well, but I'm not unsteady.
So, first of all, now that it is seriously, I just like I said at the
Seriously?
top of this seriously, Jonathan.
Oh God!
At the top of this conversation,
When we start with that.
I described season 3 of Star Trek Picard as not just one of the very best seasons of Star Trek, and that's a bold statement. But
Seriously.
Seriously, one of the very best seasons of just television history. And now that some time has passed since the series dropped on Paramount Plus and since the finale aired, what are some of the new feelings that you feel about this final season now that you've had some time to kind of simmer on it all?
Someone take that one?
It's well over a year since
Exactly.
the airing of season 3 came to an end, and I think the season 3 was, I think for most of us, the true climax of the series that we have been doing, and it ended in exactly the right way, with the right spirit and the right mood. But I hope it's not over.
Yeah. Nice tease. Very nice tease. Seriously.
Jonathan, it wasn't just that you're picking up where you left off, which was 2002, really, other than, what you did in season 2. It's that your re-entry into playing Riker, and this goes for you, Gates, and definitely for Jeri with 7, completely different, is that you're playing characters that are so different from when you last played them. So instead of your point of connection with playing Riker, what was your re-entry point? Because there is something familiar about him, and he's also just very, very different from 2002. Seriously.
He's older. He's wiser.
Exactly.
Thanks to Terry Metalis, he's got more interesting things to say than he ever had before. And I must say, I got to throw Patrick Stewart off the fucking bridge, which was, that alone was a thrill. It wasn't really Patrick, but it felt like it almost was. It was Picard.
was me who did
It was you, but I was pretending. I was acting like it was Riker talking to Picard, but it was really you.
You're not a pretender, Jonathan. You're an artist. You're not making it up. It's real. It's always been real.
I don't look back.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Where is Metalis?
Yeah, he wasn't invited.
There he is. He's right over there.
Night, Terry.
Terry Metalis.
Give it up for Terry Metalis.
Terry Metalis, ladies and gentlemen.
Answer these fucking questions.
Seriously.
Seriously. How was that answer?
That was a good, serious answer.
Okay.
Yes. Gates, tell us about, speaking of Terry Metalis, your first conversations that you had with Terry with regards to, picking Crusher back up, but different, and really a role, a challenge, a performance that you never got to do during the heyday.
Well, just meeting Terry, I liked him immediately. He was a fan of the show. He knew more about Star Trek and our show than I did, of course. And it was just a fantastic idea to have her what a loss. She's left the ship that she's been part of, the crew, and he really explained it in a beautiful way. I think the fact that I had a son with somebody, it really was a challenge, but it was a really great challenge, and I loved the fact that he had me right away in action. He talked about her being very fierce, protecting, making choices that were going to make Picard angry, but in the end, Crusher was right. I mean, what can I tell you? He would have been dead long ago. So it was so much fun, and it was perfect because just running into the cast again, but we're all in our spacesuits again, and well, I wasn't quite in my spacesuit, but almost by the end, and I loved it. It was just a dream, and I loved working with these two women very much, very much. Awesome.
So now here's the thing. So to be here, to be having a conversation with actors, and Jeri Ryan, Michelle Hurd, out there on the front lines fighting the fight for actors. Give it up because they did not settle. Jeri out there 110 heats every freaking day, showing the front lines. So thank you for making it possible for us to be here having this conversation. And Jeri, to bring Seven back in a completely different way. I mean, this was like, why was this an actor's dream for Seven, especially in season 3 of Picard?
Oh my God, I'm stuck. Oh, there we go. Hi. That's graceful. This character from the beginning was a gift for an actor because she didn't even start out human. She had to learn everything about humanity. So to come back this many years later, and she's so vastly different physically, different vocally, just different in every way, was scary and exciting and just such a fun acting challenge from the get-go. But I loved finding her and finding her resilience and her strength and everything that she's been through, and seeing where she ends up at the end of season 3 was so, I thought, beautiful and right and honest, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty fulfilling.
It is extremely cool. You don't know what those words were when she took the Enterprise out. I hope you find out one of these days. Now, Michelle, all along with seasons 1 and 2, Rafi, she evolved, and then in season 3, she spends the first part of the season with Michael, with Dorn, with the
Michael Dorn.
Let's talk about. Because you spent so much time with him, how did that give you a new appreciation for playing Rafi? Because you were exploring a side of her that you didn't get to do in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, but I have to say, I feel like I won the lottery. If you think about my first season, I get to work with Sir Patrick Stewart. My very first scene shooting was with this man, and I tried to be so cool and calm, and I was shaking every single part of my body. I could hear my knees going, and he did every single thing to calm me and to welcome me and to embrace me into this world. And to say at this day that Sir Patrick Stewart is my friend is, you know, monumental. And it means a lot to me. Second season, I get to work with Jeri Ryan. I mean, I was like, wow, it's again my birthday. This is amazing. And then the third season, Michael Dorn.
Kind of a letdown.
I mean,
Let's be frank.
this right here, this is really what we had the entire time. This humor, this love, this shameless, unbridled humor. I mean, this is what these guys created. It's why the world of Star Trek has lived on for so long. It's because there is true love and support and camaraderie and inclusivity, and to the fact that I, just kind of am invited in, and that Terry Matala has created such an amazing arc for me to do in my last season, to be so kick-ass and strong and to not be afraid to make a strong woman. I just so appreciated it. To be a part of this, it's meant a lot, and it will mean a lot for the rest of my life. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You know what, Michelle? To go back to seriously for a moment, which I may, and the only reason I can say that about Dorn is you made Dorn better than he ever was. And we've said that publicly, privately. His work was better. He was better on the set. He was better prepared. He played with more nuance, and it was because of you. So thank you.
All of you.
Patrick, so, you filmed seasons 2 and 3 back to back, but they were two fundamentally different seasons. So when, so many of the cast members came into season 3 and they were fresh, like, Rena and Michael and LeVar, and you just finished a whole season on a Friday, and then you start a whole new season on a Monday. How hard was that?
In fact, I think we wrapped season 2 in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
And we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it wasn't Friday with the weekend off. No, we wrapped at 8 o'clock on a Monday, Tuesday night, and we started at 7 o'clock the next morning.
Totally.
And that was 20 episodes we shot. It was hard work, but the one thing that has been significant about this group of people, and by that I mean our writers, our producers, our stage crew, everyone involved with it. We were an ensemble. I would always very reluctantly ever give in to, you're the captain and you're the senior person in all of this. The only reason that I had to be that was that I was the oldest person. Mind you, they are catching up.
I noticed that.
Yeah. Terry Matala should be up here because Terry, for me, because he will remember in detail my unease when Picard was first offered to me, and yet he brought into it an element of creativity and invention and respect too, which made, I think, for each one of us, the whole thing to be an interesting, unusual, and challenging experience.
I have to say, with all the TV and all the film that I watch year after year after year, and I really, really love it. But also, for me, as you all know, Star Trek runs very, 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 very deep. But it was just I forgot that I was watching Star Trek. I just was watching content that really is as good as it gets. And part of that conversation, after the first couple episodes, that I was having with a lot of my colleagues and other entertainment journalists and writers and critics who were watching this third season, they were going, oh my God, Jonathan Frakes is really, really amazing.
Yeah.
The best work of his entire career. Like,
You're
you've
gonna
never
do well.
been better.
You're
in
gonna
your
do
life.
well.
You were brilliant.
Thank you very much. Seriously.
So when you started to hear that, like, was there something about the writing, about just being back with your friends and new cast members that brought something out of you that you didn't really get to do back in, the Next Gen days?
Boy, oh boy. At the risk of being serious, in season 1, when they brought back Troy and Riker, Chabon wrote this wonderful episode about our dead son, and we were on another planet. I was really very, very ill at ease about coming back. Patrick, I had just directed 2 episodes, and he was at the top of his game. And I told this story before. Marina had just closed in a show in the West End. I hadn't acted in about 10 years, and I thought, if my friends bury me, first of all, I have a massive ego. I'm incredibly vain.
Seriously.
Right? And and Chabon stuck me the script so I could be what I thought was prepared. And in the summer, I live in Maine with my beautiful wife, Jeannie Francis, and I had the script for weeks. And I'm working on it. I work on it every day. And I run her lines with her. She does a soap. The other day, she did 46 pages. Yeah. So I think I'm pretty well prepared. Tables have turned. I give her the script. I said, let's see how I'm doing. And I go through the script, playing scenes from episode, or whatever that episode was called, the Penthe. And I run it. I stumble through, and then sort of she calls her. She says, "You better keep working on this." So that really put me at ease. But then we move forward to season 3, where the characters, Terry again. I mean, you're getting so much smoke blown up your ass. It must be hard. He met with each of us individually, and in that he shared his passion for the character, certainly for my character, and he wrote stuff and he also kept reminding us that we're 20 years on. So I was no longer in Starfleet, sort of. I mean, there were a lot of great things that happened. And I started with this one again, and I looked into his eyes when I was acting with him, and looked into Marina's eyes, and these are 2 people that I've spent more time with this guy on stage than anybody I've ever worked with. So that put me at ease, and that's all I needed.
That's all you needed.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh, and we got to shout out Todd Stashwick. Beyond.
The special guest is coming up. Because it's just like him to show up at one of these.
Jeri, I'm glad you brought him up, because talk about a game changer and a character that really shook everything up for all of you. I mean, especially Seven, but for all of you. I mean, to see Riker and Picard have to defer.
He was such a dick in the first scene.
Sure
That scene.
But that Worf 359 speech that he delivers in the bar about him.
Masterclass.
Yeah, that was spectacular.
Yeah.
And each take was a little bit different, and he's a very special
I mean,
actor.
the writing too, and also Ed Spaliers. I mean, I think it was just great to have every new cast member in that season. It just elevated it. It did. They were all right on the money. But I think when you have the characters who were younger, and then the characters of us who are old fogies here, but it was the fact that we really interacted well, that we loved each other, that we had a connection, and just as people as well as characters, and that was terrific, and that really is Terry. It was fantastic. When you have good writing, you can bring yourself into a role.
Listen, to bring up Todd, I'm so glad you brought him up. It was on my notes, but when he starts off, Shaw, like you said, he's kind of a dick. But then, this is what an actor dreams, to have an arc like that in just 9 episodes, or 10, because of that special hologram speech at the end, which was so touching. Real bow around that character. What made him shake it up? What was it like to work with him? What impressed you and surprised you about Todd Stashwick?
Oh my God, well, the first scene that any of us worked with him was the first scene that you see him, which is that dinner scene. And we did that first rehearsal, and I was like, oh my God!
That's wild.
Oh
It is
my
so
God.
wild.
Every choice was just so perfect. And I told him, I think Terry was caught by surprise how huge this character ended up being and how popular. But I was not surprised, because I told him on that very first day, I was like, you are my new favorite Star Trek character ever. You are genius, you are perfect. And yeah, and the fans agreed, because he was
Well, he's
just
fearless.
perfect.
And Terry wrote the part for him because he had been on
Yes,
12 Monkeys with
exactly.
Terry. So Terry knew what we were getting to. I'd done 2 other shows with him, so I knew, but I didn't know how good he was. And he brings that Second City business with him, so that's always in there, percolating under, informing his behavior. He's a very special actor.
Patrick, what about for you working with this season with Todd and with Ed and LeVar Burton's daughter?
Yeah, well, yes, so I'm so sorry. That was especially delightful. But I think that those 20 years of no Star Trek in my life, apart from those comments in the street and every day, which I relish. Love your show. Make it so. It brings me so much pleasure. But it has been the community feeling of this show from the very beginning. And that doesn't matter if you were a character with only half a dozen lines. You were part of the company. And that was something which all of us felt and we all insisted on. And it made such a difference because there is this communication. Something I think that's in the book that I said
You wrote a book?
He has a book. You guys know he has a
No,
book?
no,
Yes,
no,
he has a
no,
book.
I didn't write it. No, I imagined it. But there was a long story about my relationship with a very famous American star actor who I had admired since I was 13. His name was Rod Steiger. And we only did half a day of working together on the first movie I ever made called Hennessy. And then there was a big row, something happened that went wrong and he blew up and then he said to me, "What are you doing for lunch?" And I said, I don't know, what do you do for lunch? This is my first time on a set. And he said, "Look, okay, over there's the trailer, you get your food there, that's my trailer, bring it to me, have lunch with me." So I went in and we talked, and he was so patient, and he let me bombard questions at him about Marlon Brando, about Eva Marie Saint, about all these people that he worked with. And right at the end of that meeting, he said, "Just one thing, Patrick. Remember, the camera photographs thoughts." Nothing like that. Nothing like that had ever been said to me before. But it was such a mind-blowing moment that all you had to do was think. And that's what he and these other actors that I'd seen him working with had been doing. They'd been thinking all the time. And it was the thinking that made them so stand out on the screen.
Yeah, sure. And by the way, the book is called Make It So. Get it online. It's an awesome read. Seriously. Jonathan? So, I just remember in 1990, I'm at home in Philly.
It's actually called Making It So.
Making It So. Making It So, yes. Thank
I couldn't help myself. I got your back, man. Scott pretends to be a big fan.
But this big fan in the winter of 1990. So I'm watching Next Gen first run Saturday nights at 6 on Channel 29, and I'm watching this episode called The Offspring. And it was the very first episode directed by Jonathan Frakes. And it's a beautiful episode that holds up at one of Star Trek's very best. It was the first episode to air after yesterday's Enterprise, which is also a good one. And I just thought about it watching the third season of Picard, watching 17 Seconds, and you're directing this cast, like that goes back. I mean, like did you have like any moments like where like, okay, this is my gang, and we're back.
I had a great moment actually during that block. We're on the bridge, and up in the back of the bridge is Gates, and I was doing a thing where Riker's walking around in a circle, and I go up and she says, "Johnny, come here." And I don't remember exactly what she said to me, but she gave me a little note, which was so concise, and thought, thank God. And that's the way the family kind of worked. And she said, "What about this?" And I said, "That's a great idea." So, it's like, we trust each other.
Trust each other.
And that was,
We have each other's back. That is it.
That was it.
We want it to be good for everyone.
yeah, exactly.
What were some of the things, Michelle, that working on all these every season of Picard was so fundamentally different? What was it about season 3 in particular that just was really new for you, like new experiences that you're going to take on to the next one?
Kunta Kinte. I mean, literally, I was like, there's LeVar Burton. Kunta Kinte. I just like everyone here, I'm literally walking onto a bridge and seeing all these people. It was just like, hi, hi. It was an amazing experience, and everybody's at the top and going. And what Jonathan and Gates just said is absolutely true. Oftentimes when you're on a show and an actor tries to give you a little help or direction, it's not received very well. Not usually. There's something about the way these guys, because they're a family, because they have been together for so long, that there's a trust, an understanding of trying to uplift the story and to make it as clear as it can and hit for the audience, that when they give you direction or shared advice, it's from the heart, and it's not some kind of a criticism, it's literally a collaboration. And that's a big difference than working on any other show I've ever been on. I felt incredibly comfortable, and I gotta say, Jonathan, he directed our all 3 seasons episodes in there, and the very first time, first of all, we've worked together before. He worked on another, he directed me in a different show.
You can talk about the Glades,
The Glades.
with great pride now.
That's right, now I can. But there's something about Jonathan, when he walks on set, he makes the crew happy, he makes the cast happy, he makes the producers happy, everybody's happy. And that's because it's from pure joy, it's from love and sort of celebration of the art that we do. There's like songs and music and laughter and jokes, and it's an amazing, creative, collaborative, supportive, positive experience. And even in the difficult times, even when it's challenging, we know that it's challenging because we're all trying to strive for this, a beautiful product, and that we're all on the same page at that. So it's not like you get mad and you're mad at someone, you're just, you're frustrated about this moment and let's figure out how to get through it. So it was an amazing experience, unlike any other experience and any other kind of cast and crew I've ever worked with before.
So Jeri, I want to ask, how did, especially this 3rd season, make you reevaluate, make you reclaim your relationship with 7 of 9, make you reevaluate, reclaim your relationship with Star Trek and television in general?
Loaded.
Good luck, Jer. Go.
Off you go.
No pressure.
Nice one.
Wow. I think I related more to 7, well, in this season than I ever had prior. Like in the early days in Voyager, when she was just coming up, I could sort of find things to relate to her through people I knew, like my son when he was a toddler and his first, like when he caught himself laughing for the first time. And I could use that to sort of relate to her. And my son is on the autism spectrum. I could sort of use that to relate to some of her struggles and tendencies and things like that. But it wasn't a super personal connection to her. For Picard, and particularly in season 3, I was much more personally connected to her struggles, her working experience that she had with Shaw, and butting heads constantly and feeling disrespected and feeling not valued, and those are things that personally I could completely relate to, and I'm sure most of you working actors can as well. I think we've all had those experiences, and her perseverance and her strength, and she's gonna get it done, and she's determined, and she's gonna figure it out, and I was celebrating for her and with her.
So, okay, so when I saw episode 9, the episode before the one you just saw, so it was an advance screening, like, that I had to do for press, and I'm watching, and I get to the end. You know what happens at the end of the 9th episode, where they walk on the bridge of the D, and I couldn't talk to anybody about it because I couldn't spoil it. And I'm like having this like extremely emotional moment of like, what in the world? And I couldn't talk to anybody about it, but I'm thinking to myself, forget who cares what I think? Like, what was it like for you to walk on that thing?
What's interesting, and I think we all kind of agree about this, we had all kind of seen it at different times. I snuck in and saw it at one time when it was there, and it was, wow, it is exactly like it used to be. That was pretty cool. But I think when we were actually filming, it was more about the turbo lift and us in the turbo lift and how do we get out. It was more just the geography of the whole thing. Whereas for fans watching it, the impact was much more powerful. It was interesting. I think for us just to be back doing it, and we were working together, and that to me was the genius of it all. I mean, it was incredible that we're at these positions, and I had a different position. I was on the bridge in a different way. I felt wonderful about it. I really loved it. I thought it was a great homage to everything good about TNG, actually. And there was so much good about TNG. And so I thought that was just really brilliant to have that in there. And yes, it was very moving. And the main thing is listening to fans talk about how moving it was. That's pretty great.
Jonathan, what's your take on that?
I have a little different memory of the experience. I'd seen it as you had being built, and I'd watched all that stuff. But I don't think LeVar and Marina had. And I remember we were invited up for the first rehearsal on the bridge. And we came out of the car, because it was built on a separate soundstage. And I went in the door, I looked back, and they came through the door and they looked at the bridge. And it was such a, it was perfectly reenacted. And LeVar and Marina reacted where it took their breath away, and it got very, very emotional.
Yeah.
And then that was exactly the same thing that the characters were meant to feel as we came out of the turbo lift, as you mentioned, onto the bridge and walked down and took our position. So it was the best example of art imitating life that I'd ever witnessed. And it was a very honest moment between Marina and LeVar and the ship. And then when we all did it later in that day, because I think we were only on that bridge for a couple of days, Terry.
Yeah.
2 days, yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah.
And it was great. And the attention to detail was just insane.
Oh, it's the real deal, for sure.
And we had, I think it's because it was such a Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours in this place thing for us to walk back and feel the angle of the thing, and the carpet joke,
the
and
names on all
the
of
names
the,
and the color and the texture
there were all
of
these
the
little
seats,
jokes on
all
it.
the shit that was in our sense memory about it.
Yeah,
was very
it's
real.
amazing.
So last question, Patrick, is for you. So at the end of Next Gen, 7 seasons, the last episode, 7th season, all good things, which is amazing. I mean, it's amazing. You filmed a 26 episode season, first 7 seasons, okay, except second season. But when it was over, you didn't have that like, wow, it's over, because you went right into filming the first feature, Generations. But this time, with season 3 of Picard, like, that was it. So what was it like for you at the end of filming 3 seasons of Picard, 2 of them back to back, and the finality of being with these people that you had been with since 1987? How satisfied were you?
When Next Generation wrapped the final day of filming, we had visitors on the set almost from the first call that morning. A multitude of very many important filmmaker people, a lot of the executives of Paramount came because the word was. They're shooting the final day of Next Generation. Well, we didn't wrap that day's work until after 11 o'clock. And the last scene was me with John. Delancey, yes. And everyone had gone. There was just the crew and the two of us and the director, and John and myself. And at first I was disappointed that there wasn't going to be a huge studio rattling cheer when they said, "And that's a wrap." Not at all. It ended very quietly, and there was little applause and people holding hands and having a hug and so forth. It was all very quiet. We made up for that on the last day of Picard, when it was much rowdier and we had a celebration. But if I can also contribute to what was it like going onto the bridge of the Enterprise all those years afterwards. I was shooting another scene in another set, then they fell behind or something, and I had half an hour and I was not going to be used. So I thought, because I deliberately stayed away from the construction, I'm going to go in and see if the door was open to the stage, and there was nobody there. It was completely empty. So I walked onto the bridge alone on the stage. And I was utterly unprepared for the emotion and the recollections that overwhelmed me at that time, because those people that I had shared the bridge with all those years and the years that had passed thence are like family to me. It's a family that I wish I could have had all my life, because it gave me so much hope, optimism, support, and fun. You remember when you're old enough to have fun?
On behalf of everyone in this room, on behalf of everyone who has watched all 3 seasons of Picard, on behalf of everyone who has been with this Next Generation crew since 1987, thank you for being our family. Thank you, everybody. Star Trek Picard is streaming now on Paramount Plus, and absolutely, if you haven't seen season 3 again, now is the time to rewatch. Big thanks to this amazing panel. Thank you.